This is the second battle between Riksosten of the Aggony clan and Iraklis. Iraklis is commanding the Lombards in this battle, I believe, if I don't get that one completely wrong. We have the Mercians commanded by Riksosten, and or was it the other way around? The title of the video is going to be correct. Sometimes I read the players commanding the factions, then I forget. Enough about that. We have select axemen, feared axemen, a bunch of axemen. Wow, this is almost pure axe rush. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 axe units. And then we have royal thanes, and royal thanes. An interesting setup. Select archers, feared slingers, and then, of course, just the standard crappy horsemen. For the Lombards, we have Gestalt swords, very sturdy sword units. Then we have Lombard clubs, fragile, but in shield wall, 20 bonus versus infantry is significant. Then we have the spearmen. Overall, the Lombards are quite fragile, with the exception of the Gestalt swords. Archers, a bunch of archers, 4 archers, standard archer unit. And walking up now is the Lombards. They have a Gestalt guard sword unit here and a Gestalt knight sword cavalry. Decent charge bonus, very heavy. They murder infantry if they're able to get a good charge in. Extremely high melee attack, extremely high melee damage. The way you want to use these guys is you want to charge them in and let them do the damage. Ideally not be fighting spear units, but they are a very good counter to these axe units. They will go in and destroy an axe unit. And if you take a look at the army of Mercia, there aren't any spear units. And the Lombards also have some sneaky little Lombard lancers over here. Very cheap, quite good with 105 charge bonus, but only 10 armor, so very fragile to missiles. They can put the hurt on units like these select axemen. So the axes very fragile. The royal thanes not fragile, but a charge from the Lombard lancers with a follow-up from clubmen and shield wall is going to put the hurt on royal thanes. So a frontal cav charge could be disastrous for the Lombards, however, because there are these slingers able to slow down the Lombards. There's very close support from the axes. There are archers, so going in and going out, they're just going to take too much damage. They are also, in terms of mass, they are also light shock cav. So since these units are in spaghetti, if they're caught on the move, the lancers could continue through. But there's always the risk that continuing through, they would take massive casualties. The Lombards are commanding a position on top of the hill. Wouldn't be too smart of them to forego that position, because everything you do from a hill is going to be more effective than everything you do up a hill. Everything does more damage downhill, everything does less damage uphill. Archers, melee units, cav chargers, everything. So if you can command a position like this, then that's very useful. And now the thanes are not in shield wall. Shield wall would increase their missile block chance, and it's not good to be taking fire this early on your thane units. They looked like they were about to move into shield wall. Yeah, they're moving into shield wall. So 65% missile block and spaghetti. It means that these guys can now tank a significant amount of missiles, but they are taking damage. The Gestalt swords are also in shield wall. I have to pause this because this is a proper battle here. Look at the way we have multiple lines of infantry. We have the general with the cavalry in the back here, and then we have the enemy army moving in. This is worthy of a screenshot, I think. This looks like this is really good. I mean, I like the map choices, and the way these two armies are facing off against each other is pretty cool. So now the feared slingers are starting to fire. The axemen also have a shield wall, but using the shield wall means they lose their 28 charge bonus. But just to reduce the amount of damage they take from missiles, the shield wall could be very useful. The archers laying down the fire. Now they are firing on the combination of archers and feared axes. And the feared axes wisely pulled back from there. They cannot take a lot of damage. The feared slingers are firing into the mix, dealing some damage to the archers, but they are firing uphill. Not a good time to be firing uphill. But these skirmish engagements are going to take a long time against armored units in shield wall. 65% missile block. 65% missile block over here. And the Lombard clubmen are also in shield wall, so they're going to be shrugging off a lot of these hits, while the archers are raining down the fire. The slingers, they've gotten some killing done here against mainly the archers, I think. Because most of the shots are going to be bouncing off the Gestalt swords, and the ones that hit, they are going to be... a lot of the damage is going to be blocked by the armor. So the kills mainly on these archers, which could be worth it, but this is very good for the Lombards, because if these units keep trading missile fire, it means that they won't have any fire left for the late game and for the cavalry, and the Lombards have a decisive cavalry advantage. So a late game where there are no skirmishers and a lot of these squishy infantry units, that's very good for the player that has the cavalry superiority. So for the Mercians, this is not wise use of the skirmishers, since they're firing up superior precision. Now there is a way for the Mercians to reverse this. If the Mercians were to move around here, keep moving, then they could have the benefit of cover. They would still have to fight uphill, but the benefit of cover would help their archers significantly, and it will also help to shield them from the cavalry of the Lombards. But the way they are set up now, once they start pushing up the hill, the cavalry is going to have some great charges down here. And the slingers out of ammunition, 49 kills. Might be a good idea to just run the slingers up and try to bait some fire as well. Try to pull some units out of position. And as you can see, the archers of the Lombards are getting more kills than the archers of the of Mercia. Decisively so. But the Royal Thanes and the Thanes haven't taken that much damage. And neither have the Axemen, and that's a big X factor, because the cavalry needs to be managed really well, and they need to use... They can't just charge in and expect to destroy units left and right like they could in Attila. They will have to pick their targets carefully. Ideally, they will have to charge a unit that they can break instantly without any supporting units coming in. But it's going to be hard for Mercia to deal with these Gestalt guardsmen. Decent armor, very high melee attack, very high melee damage. So against units with low armor, that's going to be devastating. Even against the horsemen here, they're going to be devastating on the charge. Even though they are melee cavalry, and they traditionally don't do too well against enemy cavalry. So the archers of Mercia are starting to... they do have a bit of ammunition, but they're running out of men before they're running out of ammunition. And that's mainly because they're firing up this hill. So let's just fast forward until the last skirmish units have... finished firing.
Men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful
The select
display.
archers wavering. They won't be able to do much now, they're so depleted.
The men are running.
And here comes the push.
Damn you.
The Gestalt swords are moving up in shield wall. Very nice and methodical, this. Just walking up in shield wall, and now they're moving into a denser formation with the Lombard clubs behind. This is quite interesting, the way they are deploying now. Like real tactics being used here. What the fuck? Spreading out a bit more. the Lombard clubs behind. And it's going to be hard to break through Gestalt swords and clubmen in shield wall. Even these feared axemen are going to have a hard time. But it would be very interesting if we saw the feared axemen move up in shield wall, because they are going to be dealing a lot of damage. So with the 10 bonus versus infantry, you're looking at 42 melee damage and a very high armor penetration value. There's still ammunition remaining on these archers, so they're looking to get some more kills. The Thanes not in shield wall now. Firing on the feared axemen in block formation. Now they have their missile block bonuses. So I think it would be a good idea to just focus all remaining ammunition on the Royal Thanes. They're a much higher value target, and now the select axemen have a 65% missile block. Nice kills on all of these archers. So Mercia is in the hole now. Mercia has lost far more men than the Lombards. I guess the Lombards want to use every single volley from their superior position. And it looks like they are... Nope, they're not completely out of ammunition, but almost. Moving up with the Gestalts. Mercia pulling back. Good move. Going into shield wall. I hope, for the sake of Mercia. The cavalry starts moving forward. They are now safe from enemy missiles. Always a priority when you're the Lombards. The axemen are moving up. They are also now safe from enemy missiles, for the most part. And here we go. The Lombards moving up in shield wall. I don't think Mercia is going to be pulling back anymore, because now the fight is going to be happening on even ground, even terrain. The feared axemen are charging out through the lines. No, they're going into shield wall. So are these units going into shield wall. So very high bonuses versus infantry. The Lombard Lancers are moving around the flanks, and this could be interesting. Yes, they are swinging around, getting a rear charge against the feared axes, and they're going to smash the feared axes. They need to pull out relatively quickly. Yep, too late. The horsemen are getting a charge. The Lombard Lancers didn't turn around to face that charge. They really should have, but it's hard to micro in these situations. The feared axemen getting the killing done. The Thanes are getting the killing done. This is a very important unit, the Royal Companions in the center. Cav unit after Cav unit being pushed into the fight here to stop the Lombard Lancers from disengaging. One unit has been able to disengage, but it has lost a lot of men. This unit has gotten some kills, but it's not close to being cost effective. The Mercian horsemen being able to pull out. Brace being popped here on the Royal Thanes, increasing their bonus versus infantry. The Gestalt guardsmen charge in, they pull out, and they lose a lot of men. You have to be so careful about how you lose your cavalry here. And the Gestalt swords are running away now. They are running away from the combination of Thanes and feared axemen. The Lombard clubmen have done a great job in terms of kills, but the supporting units of Mercia, they are doing a lot of damage to the cavalry on the flanks. Lombard Lancers are charging into the blob, but there are a lot of enemy units here. They're not going to be able to do enough damage. The Lombard center has crumbled on its chaos on the flanks. The Gestalt guards getting a good charge here into the back of the Royal Companions. They don't have brace anymore, the Royal Companions. They're going to take more damage from this charge. They're going to do less damage. The Lombard Lancers that previously were routing came back, and now they're getting a devastating charge here against the horsemen. But the Lombard center has crumbled. The Cav units that got sent in here are defeated. Axemen do a decent enough job against cavalry if they don't get charged. Desperate charges here from the Gestalt Knights into the feared slingers, and trying to get another charge here into the select axemen and the Thanes before they break. But the Mercian cavalry is doing so well, just charging in after the Gestalt Knights and the Lombard Lancers have charged, closing them off from safe retreat. The Gestalt Knights have gotten a lot of kills, but now they're in a blob. They are severely outnumbered by the enemy. The Gestalt General of the Lombards have broken. Might come back. But this is not looking good for the Lombards. The Mercians took a beating from the missiles, and now they are defeating the Lombards down on the plains. They had just the axes of the Mercians. Very nice. Very nice army composition with all of those axes.
Our men run from the enemy. This is shameful.
And although these archers did a lot of damage to the Lombard archers, not a bad trade actually for the Mercians, it turns out, because the Mercians were then able to use their axes and their cav unmolested. The Gestalt Guards breaking. This is army balance of power coming into play. There's really nothing that the Lombards can do now.
The enemy general is
Just the last remaining units getting defeated, and that's it.
We have gained the upper hand.
Very nice battle there. Greek Iraklis taking it. And one of the things I noticed when you're playing against Greek Iraklis, you think he's making all kinds of mistakes early game, and then he comes back to bite you in the ass. If Iraklis sacrifices a few units, you should start becoming worried. So if you look at the kills here, the infantry line of Iraklis is genius, having 5 of these rock-solid infantry units together with the support from the axes. The support from the axes allows him to defeat cavalry units very quickly and to support infantry fights very well. In this case, we have the case of 5 good melee units and 7 axe units up against only 3 clubs and 3 Gestalt swords. And although infantry is very important in Charlemagne, cavalry is important as well, but it's not the game-winning asset it was in Total War Attila. It can be, but it's much harder to use, and that was exemplified really well here, where the cavalry had got one good charge off, and then they get closed in and they die really, really, really quickly. So the Lombards, a hard faction to make use of because of their lack of sturdiness, whereas Mercia has so much infantry. The only thing Mercia is really lacking is the good cavalry, but not as big of a problem in Age of Charlemagne as it was in Total War Attila. Strength and honor.